Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. It is September 13th, 2016, and I'm broadcasting to you live from New Jersey. We had a little bit of a technical hiccup this morning, but now we're back in business. One of our guests was not able to connect with us, but hopefully we'll have Jingyi on with us another time. In the meantime, let's say hello to those who are joining us. Josh from Voltoro, good friend and exciting member of the Tatiana Show. How are you today?
Oh, unmute. I'm doing very well. I've just come back from London from a blockchain event in Helsinki. I'm finally in the, I'm just in the Flying High Club. Hang on, what does that mean? Does that mean something?
I don't know.
No, that means something else, doesn't it?
I mean, maybe that's what it means in your world, but I'm not sure.
But yeah, there was a fantastic conference in Helsinki, and I met so many great people. Really good projects happening all over the world. It's so exciting to be alive at this time. Every time I go to any blockchain event or Bitcoin event or Ethereum event, I'm blown away by the intelligence and the capabilities and the imagination of these people. I think this whole space is really has some of the highest caliber of intelligent people in it. Really, it's amazing, and you've got this great mixture of crypto anarchy and technical brilliance, all mixed into one. It's just genius. I love it.
Don't you go to a lot of banking ones though? Are they really looking for innovation?
I think they like to think they're innovative. And it's amazing because I catch them out all the time. They just say the dumbest stuff. Really, it's amazing. I said to one guy,
everybody's new. Not everybody has something intelligent to say about Bitcoin just from the get-go.
No,
but I guess my comment was to you saying that there's all these crypto anarchists, but I feel like you go to a lot more financial type conferences.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming to us more. These banker types are coming more and more to these blockchain events and Bitcoin events. So it's a bit of both. But really, what I find is that a lot of them try to look intelligent, try to say, "Oh, yeah, blockchain," and then you talk to them a little bit deeper, and you realize they don't have a clue about what's going on. And then you say, "Have you, set up a Bitcoin wallet before?" And they're like, "Oh, no, I've never tried it." And then you blow their mind by setting it up in 10 seconds and sending them some, and they really love it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyhow, there's great projects, and what a project that I'm just been reading about now, and our guest is bringing on board, is extremely exciting. A decentralized social network. It's folks, stay tuned. And we've got to bring Gregory on.
Yes, I suppose we can do that. I actually wanted to talk about a few things before we randomly went off into the abyss. But you know what? Yeah, actually, let's bring Greg on. He's been waiting for us patiently. We've got Synereo coming up hot on the blockchain press, right? They're doing a ICO, I guess. I'm not really sure what you call it, but they're looking for people to become engaged in their project. They're doing something, I believe, on Bank to the Future. Greg, is that right? Are you guys on Bank to the Future? You're still muted.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yes, we are on Bank to the Future.
Well, let's step back a bit. Let's talk about the project Synereo. From first up, it's a fully decentralized online social network, and that's I guess the sales pitch, the elevator pitch.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a little bit more than that, and we didn't want it to be more than that, but we sort of we've been backed into that position. So in particular, we're kind of late to the game in the sense of deciding to own the blockchain technology itself as a part of our dev process. So we had been hoping that the Bitcoin blockchain would be a solution to at least the monetization part of our offering. So our offering is a little bit different than other social networks in the sense that we have a cryptocurrency associated with, I mean, well, we call it the attention economy, but it allows people to participate in the value proposition, right? I mean, without going.
I want to start from the beginning because I feel like we're talking about Synereo from the middle, and I just want to know. Okay, I don't know anything about this project. Who is your target audience, and what are you trying to sell me? What am I trying to participate in? What is Synereo?
Right. Okay. So I mean, I could actually start at the top. I mean, but for me, the top is our aims. What do we hope to accomplish? So for me, the real issue is that we are at a cusp in terms of human culture and human society, right? There are a lot of really hot, and I literally mean hot problems, like climate change. Like there are ice lakes appearing in the Antarctic sheets. Just if I look outside my window right here, I don't know if you can see my windows, but the Cascades the Olympics have no snow on the top of them, and this kind of thing is only part of a growing trend. So I really think we are literally melting the planet with our current lifestyle, and we need a better social communication platform so that we can organize ourselves better, and a social communication platform that is connected to other ways of coordinating each other, in particular financial ways of coordinating each other. So that's our aim. We're looking for a platform that enables a different kind of self-determination.
But what is it?
And so
is it like Facebook? Is it? How do I use it?
Right. So it's again, it's somewhat like Facebook, in the sense that you can make posts and you can read other people's posts, but it's a lot different from Facebook. So one of the things that's different is that you can make your feed, so to speak, is completely in your control, and it's also what we call a first-class thing. So when you make a feed that you like, you can share that feed with others, because, for example, the tagging mechanism is rich and sophisticated. So tags are something that persist. Like a Twitter tag, a hashtag, that kind of it comes into existence for all of 5 minutes and then disappears again. It's really just sort of about being a little bit clever. It's not about persistently accessing information. In Synereo, by design, we can't see any of the content that's posted. So this is a major design point for us. The network and none of the nodes as nodes can see any of the content that's shared between the users. Okay, that's by design.
So you have to subscribe to a channel or to a feed.
That's exactly.
How would you hear about them in the first place?
Right. So they have to be shared amongst the various users. So you get it's just like, remember the old days of LinkedIn, when if you didn't know anyone who could invite you to LinkedIn, you were staring at a blank wall, or if you didn't know anyone you could connect to in LinkedIn, you were staring at a blank wall. It's a similar kind of thing. So the network effect is created through lots and lots of consent. So any connection is done by mutual consent, which reduces the signal to noise ratio on any particular feed and through any different connections.
So once you're subscribed to a feed, can you participate and add to that feed?
Yep, that's exactly right. Although that's also under control, right? So that's under the control of those who like the connection that you get to the feed can be created so that you'll have only read access, for example.
Okay, and all right. So the admin, so the person who creates the feed in the first place.
The person, the quality of the connection between the user, one user and the other, is what determines that, right? And so that has to do with how the connection is established. And so a feed is really a connection for us. A feed is just a connection, but it can be a connection between an individual and an individual, or between an individual and a group, or between a group and a group.
Now, this is a decentralized network. So how much data is being, where does the blockchain come in? How much data is being added to the blockchain?
Right. So this is what I was trying to get to it at the beginning before we got derailed. So the Bitcoin blockchain won't support data at this that would work with a social network, and we knew that from the outset. But we thought that we could sort of. I built a content management system, a content delivery system that was decentralized, and I began that work in 2010. And we were just starting to get to the point where we wanted to monetize that content network system, content delivery network. When I, saw that Bitcoin might provide a solution, and that's when Dor and I sort of independently came up with the idea of the attention economy, which is by which you can use a cryptocurrency to promote posts, right? So you can actually see videos from our recent Synereo governance conference where we gave a demo of being able to attach amps to a post and have the post reach more users, right? But what we discovered was that even the side-by-side, content management network that's handling all the data, content delivery network that's handling all the data, and using the blockchain just for the financial part of it was neither secure nor performant. So we knew that the Bitcoin blockchain was not going to scale. So I began working very closely with Ethereum. So I work regularly with Vitalik and Vlad and a number of other researchers in that space. We came up with the Casper proof of stake algorithm to sort of move the blockchain technology one step closer to scaling. And then at a certain point, we realized that that wasn't going to completely fit our needs either. So we have we've evolved to a new blockchain technology, which we call R-Chain. And there's enough throughput and enough scale while remaining decentralized that we can put all the data on the blockchain itself.
Why do people need that data on the blockchain? I'm having a hard time understanding why a user would find this compelling. Like, why would I want to use this instead of any other? Where's the advantage for me? Because so far it seems extremely confusing, and I'm like, and arguably I would be a target market, right? Just your average user, or is this specifically focusing for people that are interested in blockchain specifically, like technology just for itself? Like, how would this reach a regular person? Because so far I'm still not understanding why I would want to use it. Like, what would the advantage be? Would it be that I can make money off of it? Would it be that I want to talk about, weird stuff that the government doesn't want me to say? Where do I connect with this?
Awesome. No, I think that's a great question. I really appreciate your perspective. So shifting gears from the technological and market requirements to just how an ordinary person thinks about this. I think a lot of people are not super concerned about privacy right now, and that could be okay, right? I mean, a lot of people make comments about privacy and their concerns about Snowden and what Snowden revealed on Facebook, right? So out of one side of their mouth, they're acting concerned, but they're posting it on Facebook itself. So let's just talk a little bit about the Facebook proposition, right? And by extension, other centralized social media propositions. So first and foremost, all the data you post on Facebook belongs to Facebook. End of story. And Facebook has shown that they're susceptible to a number of different issues. So number one, at any given time, the NSA can knock on Facebook's corporate office doors and say, we need the data for this particular user, and here's a court order from a secret court. So you and I, we can't see how that court operated, how that came to that decision, or even the court order itself. But the NSA can ask for that data, right? So maybe most people don't care about that. Some people do care about that, but maybe most people don't care about that. But Facebook has also shown that they're susceptible, and that may just be the cost of doing business in the United States, right? Maybe that's just how things are if you're going to engage in business in the United States. But let's look at it from another level. Facebook has shown that it's also susceptible to a different kind of use of people's data. So Facebook has published papers in high-profile psychology journals in which they report on the results of changing people's moods by manipulating the feed, by manipulating their feed.
Okay, so we know that Facebook is bad. They're manipulating information. How is Synereo different?
So, well, I've already given you clues to that, but let me just complete the story.
Sure.
It's a little bit bigger than just 10-second sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe people are willing to live with that. I don't know. But there's another issue here, and the other issue is that Facebook is making billions of dollars in profit per quarter. Per quarter. And users, the ordinary users, do not participate in that economic boom. Okay? Mm-hmm. Right? They're not paid out by Facebook. Now let's compare that to 50 years ago. Right? The equivalent instrument for social communication 50 years ago was the New York Times. Okay? And if you think about it, the content generators for the New York Times and the content curators for the New York Times were the New York Times staff. And they got paid quite well. Today, Facebook gets all of that labor for free. The laborers who are making the content valuable don't participate in the economic boom. Okay, so now let's put the two together. So on the one hand, people may say, you know what, I don't want to deal with a giant pharma servers. I don't want to deal with data centers. I don't want to deal with the issue of all the heat that they're spewing out and all the security. I want someone else to do that. So I'm going to hand over the economic opportunities to Facebook. Maybe they might feel comfortable with that. But then you add on top of that the security issues and the privacy issues and the way in which people's feeds are being manipulated. And now they're not only being screwed economically, they're being screwed in terms of the privacy and the trust. And so that's a serious problem, right? And I don't think very many people are happy with that situation at all. So with Synereo, you get to participate both in the economic engine, right? So the content creators and the content curators using the AMP cryptocurrency can participate in the economics of the information economy, and in addition, they can be assured of privacy. So Synereo doesn't have a giant server farm. Instead, everybody has their own devices. I'm sitting here on a laptop, you're sitting there on a laptop, and you can run a node locally to your device, or if there's someone that you trust to host your node, you can go to them, right? But that's entirely in your control. That's entirely up to you to do, right? You can go to our GitHub repo right now. You can pull down the Docker image, and you can launch your node right now, and you can run that entire.
But how would it do that? That sounds something that like a normal person would want to like. I've been in crypto and I barely know what a node is, So why would somebody normal think that was appealing, or would that be kind of hidden behind the user experience?
Well, I think that in the same way that my mother or my grandmother certainly doesn't know anything about Google Hangouts, and she's very unlikely to know about Google Hangouts, right? She's 102 and it's probably not going to enter into her lifetime. But most of, like my children, they're quite capable of doing something like that. And in fact, when I talk to the 20-somethings, the next generation, they're much more technically advanced, and I think they'll be perfectly happy with that kind of experience, or with an experience that's slightly smoother. So over time, I think we all learn how to have new experiences that are grounded in technology. So I wouldn't want to put a line on what's normal just yet. I think it's a little premature to say that we know what's normal, especially given the pace at which technology is evolving.
I have a question.
Yeah.
MySpace, when it was out, it was this social network where everyone was just trying to get as many friends as possible, and you're building this network, and that was the thing. And then Facebook came along and made it a lot more about the real friends you got, the real networks that you've got in your life, and extended that, and that became a lot more valuable because you actually cared about the information coming to you. So when someone posts something on on MySpace, it was just this sort of thing, and you don't really care. If someone that you know in real life posts something, you want to watch it because it's interesting. It is where in that level, that scale are you guys aiming at?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's exactly what I was referring to when I said that connections in the Synereo network are all about consent. So what we find is that when you like with the same kind of thing happens with Facebook, where in order to be friends, the two friends have to accept, right? So there's a little tiny protocol. So we have a similar kind of protocol called the introduction protocol, but it's decentralized, so that the parties who are creating a connection have to consent. They both have to be kind of on the same page. Not only that they're entering into this connection, but the kind of connection they're entering into. And once they have consent about this kind of connection, then what you find is that the signal to noise ratio vastly increases. Like I can't even pay attention to Twitter anymore because the signal to noise ratio is just below the threshold that's valuable to me. Whereas with Facebook, it's kind of, it's just better enough that I do pay attention to Facebook because of there's this element of consensual connection, right? And mutuality as a part of the engagement. Yeah, so I'm really glad you brought that up. And that's what Synereo is organized around.
So people can basically post any type of content that they want, videos, pictures, comments, that kind of thing?
So right now we have everything up through pictures and things like that. The streaming stuff is going to come online later. We do not have a good streaming solution. And streaming solution in a decentralized way with security and monetization is hard. It's just technically hard. We just can't take on all of it. But yeah, you can go all the way up through pictures and little audio clips. But once we start talking about and even little tiny video clips.
So what if
streaming solutions? We just don't have a good streaming solution.
What if someone posts something that they regret later? They want to take it back down. How does that work?
So the most important thing is that you can change. You can certainly you can take things down, but you have to be careful that some of these posts can be forwarded on. So if they're forwarded on, you're out of luck, right? So that depends upon the social contract that you wrap around. So one thing to understand is that every post is its own little smart contract, or what we call social contract. So every post is its own little contract that runs on top of, initially right now it runs on the content delivery network. Eventually it will run on top of our chain. And that little contract controls how the posts can flow and who can engage with the post and who can. And so if you set up the policy in the right way, and this right now this is for nerds, but what we're hoping is that people become more and more aware of the issues like you're talking about, of the tension between reach and privacy, between risk and promotion, right? So those are the kinds of things that people have to become aware of. And when that tension gets really, really super high, right, then people will be incentivized to learn the contracting language enough that they can write little policies about how these things flow that will serve their purposes.
Could I go into the economics a little bit?
Yeah.
I know that Steam has had a lot of controversy because of people saying it's not as decentralized as they say, but then the economic side of it is being picked apart. I'm just wondering what's the incentive to buy? Because in these sort of scenarios where you're incentivizing with the currency, you need buyers on the other side to add actual, the value is coming in the post for sure, but you need to give the currency value by having a price discovery system through trading with other valuable assets.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, let me address that, because I think you put your finger on a really important point. We've hit this from a number of different sub communities. Let me take a really good example. So we talk about scientific publication. Right now, there's an illusion that scientific publication is divorced from capital. The reality is, behind the scenes, every scientist is funded by various grants, and those grants are a part of a much larger social vetting process, right? And so there's no such thing as a scientific publication that isn't, that doesn't have money attached to it. But the public perception is that when someone posts an article on Archive or some of these, or the PLOS one, that they're somehow free of monetary concerns, right? And so for a long time, if we want to use Synereo to foster scientific communication, that has to be done largely in terms of reputation, right? Scientific reputation, and that's why we have two things, right? It's not just about amps; it's also about Rio, right? So the Rio part of Synereo is the reputation score. And the reputation score derives from relative standing in the community, right? So speaking of community, let's say we have Abed and Troy, right? And we look at their common community between Abed and Troy. So their common community might include Pierce and Shirley and Jeff and Britta and Annie. Right, those are the people, and if Abed has a network of bots behind him, as Abed might, right, the likelihood that Troy is going to be connected to Abed's bots is really, really tiny. Likewise, if Troy, has paid someone to stand up a network of bots behind him, the likelihood that Abed is going to be connected to those bots is very, very tiny. So we only look at their common connections, and between their common connections, if Abed's content is engaged more frequently than Troy's content, then Abed's relative standing in their common community is higher. And because it's higher, when Abed posts, over time the network begins to adapt and put his content more central into the feeds of Pierce and Shirley and Jeff and Annie, etc. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's a mechanism to stop Sybil attacks. Is that right? Sybil attack is.
Yeah, exactly. It's one way to avoid Sybil attack, but it's reputation based, and so what I'm trying to say is that there's a reputation score that's balancing the funding score. So you could have a scientific conversation, a scientific debate on Synereo that was completely divorced of any amps. Right. No one had to have any amps attached to their posts, because they wanted this to be somehow economically clean, right? With devoid of any economic incentivization, and the network would support that conversation.
Interesting. So just for the folks that don't know what a Sybil attack is at home, it's basically when you create a whole bunch of other accounts and pretend they're other people, but they're all controlled by you. And you can then manipulate things on a social network. One question I have about scalability is the fact that if I run a node, am I repeating or transmitting all this information that's coming through on the entire social network?
Oh, that's so great! I'm so glad you asked that. So that's one of the central reasons why we ended up not going with a Casper-based Ethereum 2.0, So like, I mean, we definitely want to collaborate and interoperate with the next version of Ethereum. The Ethereum 1.0 is just never going to meet our needs. It's still a proof of work based blockchain, and everything that goes into any one node goes to every other node. Ethereum 2.0 will be Casper based, but it still won't have the kind of sharding mechanism that we require. So in particular, we need to be able to subdivide the network into lots of little pieces, and then potentially have those subdivided and potentially have those subdivided, so that not every node has to have every piece of data. And we need to be able to do that in a way that you can still maintain consistency around the network, right? So that those people who have to agree on the state, right? You know, like my node has seen this data in this order, and your node has seen this data in this order, because we have to agree on the state, right? We need to be able to provide that. And the Ethereum 2.0 sharding solution won't provide that. In addition, they're also not doing, their Casper algorithm is still more block oriented than we believe will provide throughput. So that's another aspect of scaling. So in Tatiana, in terms of, you know, sort of for the normal people, whoever they might be, if you think about normally, if you're going down to the coffee shop and you're about to buy a latte, you really don't want it to be the case that transaction has to be serialized or placed in order with someone in Tokyo who's about to buy some sushi, right? And in fact, most of the time, those kinds of transactions are completely isolated. They have nothing whatsoever to do with each other. And so there's no reason for there to be any sort of consensus algorithm run on those, because they're isolated. There's no need for any kind of agreement or any sort of, you know, worry or concern that they're in the same scope. So our approach to the blockchain allows us to say, you know what, actually 90% of the time transactions are not stepping on each other's toes, so they can just go through. And if they just go through, then that means that we don't have to worry about any sort of consensus algorithm. We don't have to slow that down. And so we're hoping that our throughput rates allow us to get to what the ordinary people on the internet have come to know and love, which is Facebook kinds of scaling together with Visa and MasterCard kinds of scaling, right?
Yeah, people really want that vastness.
That's exactly right.
When you delete a post, when you edit a post, you know, are you basically taking the right away to see the information that's in the blockchain beforehand? Because blockchain's immutable, right? So all you're doing is changing, adding something to the database, but the original post is still there, and that's, I guess, encrypted, and so you have to somehow take the key away for other people to see that.
Yeah, so it isn't. Yeah, I mean, you can think about it a key, but think about it more like a link, right? So if what you put, and again, we're not putting it on the blockchain, we're not putting it on the Bitcoin blockchain, but if you want to use that as an approximation, think about this: what you're going to put up on the blockchain is a link, right, to some data. Now let's say we break the link, so the link doesn't point to the data. The chain hasn't changed, but the linking to the data has changed. And so now you can't see it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. Tatiana.
I think you guys went off a little bit into the weeds for me, but
okay.
All right. So when is the Bank to the Future campaign, and when can an average person start using Synereo?
Average person. I don't know. I don't know who's average anymore. So why don't we? So Bank to the Future.
Maybe not grandma. Maybe your little cousin. When can my little cousin start using Synereo? Grandma's a little bit. When's there going to be, I guess, like a beta of when you're going to be kind of onboarding regular users?
Yeah. So let me turn this around a little. First of all, let me answer the question I can answer simply. So I believe internally that we've said that the crowd sale goes live on the 19th of September. So that's very short. Right, that's like in 6 days, and then the other answer is what would you want as a normal person to start using Synereo? Do you want to just log into a website? Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's what I would say. as using it as like an initial thing, just having somewhere to log in and check it out.
Okay, so you basically want to trust the hosting to somebody else. You don't care whether you host your own node.
I'm just trying to do an interview and find out when I can use your product. That's all. I think that's a pretty basic question. When can people use? What do you mean by use it? I'm like, I don't know. Log into something, see what you're selling.
But it's a little bit, because some people actually really care about this. Some users in the community do not want to be logging into a separate site because they don't trust these other sites. They want things more under their control. And I think what you've just revealed here in this little interchange is that for you, you don't have any of those trust worries or trust concerns.
No.
Yeah, and that's cool. But then I kind of wonder why you're in the blockchain arena at all, because most people who are in the blockchain,
I wonder why somebody would make something that normal people can't understand and then question why they're so stupid as to not understand them.
No, I'm not saying. I'm
just saying, like, why can't you just give me a straight answer? Like, when can I use this?
Well,
very simple.
I mean, you can use it right now, but the issue is that you want us to pay for hosting the server.
Well, it's your website. Why would I pay for your hosting?
That's the important thing. It's not a website, and that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not a website. It's not a centralized service. It's a decentralized service. And that's
okay. When can people use the decentralized service?
Right. So decentralized means that we're not paying for hosting. We don't host. Other people.
But when can people start using this?
People can use it right now.
Well, how do they do that?
You go to the GitHub repo, you download the Docker image, and you start the Docker image, and then you can log in. And there's a video. There are actually several videos of how to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can post those links to you a little bit later.
Yeah, that'd be great, because this way, if people want to learn about it, but they didn't really quite get it from the show, they can go and check it out directly.
Yeah,
so we'll be putting that in the show notes, guys.
Yeah,
and then how long is the Bank to the Future campaign?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll have to check with Dor.
Okay, we'll put the link to that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What I'd like to see is an app that's a little package without too much worries, where you double click and it launches and it for the end user, and then because I think there's a lot of people that really want privacy, like Tatiana, I'm sure wants privacy and understand, but doesn't want to go on a large learning curve. So some application that's pre-packaged and you double click and it launches and there's exactly. And that's kind of what I was hoping we would get to. So something that's as smoothly packaged as that, probably we'll have that out in the next quarter. I mean, right now we're largely focused on developers. We're not really focused on end users. We're focused on propeller heads. Right. Well, that's always in technology. You have to go for the hardcore, and then it gets easier, and the UX gets easier and better and nicer. So
that's exactly right, and that's kind of the way we're doing it. Yeah, I mean, so like at the governance conference, most of the people there were totally happy with hackerspace kind of stuff. Yeah, and it's gonna there's a long tail before we get to something that's a smooth and viable sort of end user experience. And Tatiana, I mean, I was really just gathering what your requirements were. I mean, I'm not.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a basic question. Like, when can I use it? And
yeah. But
I don't think that an average person is going to go to a GitHub anything. So the question was more, when can the average person get? And you said what, in the first quarter of next year?
Within the next quarter. So we're
okay.
First quarter of next year, I guess. Yeah, so we're in September, right? So yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So by Christmas time, hopefully people will be able to try it out and.
I know. Please be careful. People can try it out right now, right?
Okay.
Let's not conflate the demographic that you're calling people with the demographic that we're calling people.
Okay. All the nerds can participate now. No, I'm just kidding.
That's exactly right. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to be providing links. If people want to find out more, what website should they go to?
Synereo.com.
Synereo, spell that for me one more time, just in case for listeners that don't have a.
Sure. S is in Sam, Y, N is in Nancy, E, R as in Roger, E, O, as in Oscar.
Excellent.
Synereo.
All right, great. So thank you
the
very much
groomage,
for joining us today. And a couple announcements before we wrap things up this week. Of course, there's freeross.org. I always like to give them a plug. Make sure that you're supporting the Free Ross Ulbricht Fund. We're doing a really cool Rossathon on October 2nd. So a lot of different people will be joining us. We're going to be talking about, the drug war and how people can help with the appeal. We've got upcoming conferences include La BitConf, which is Latin American Bitcoin Conference. Greg, will you be going down to Buenos Aires for that?
No. I'm doing the Ethereum DevCon 2 Shanghai, and then I have to be heads down for quite some time.
Well, sometimes you've got to be heads down. That makes sense. We've also got an Acapulco next year in February, Jeff Berwick's event in Acapulco, which will be a lot of fun. We got a new sponsor, CryptoCompare.com, which they reached out to me. They're actually sponsoring a lot of different cool podcasts, and they have all this different information for trading. And I thought that it seemed actually usable, and I was excited about it. So check out
really cool.
CryptoCompare. And of course, the blockchain. Oh, okay, nice. Well, the blockchain CPA, also Kirk Phillips, he's been doing my taxes for basically 6 months now of torture. So I got to give him a little love. If you guys are trying to do your taxes in Bitcoin and you're crying and drinking too much as a result, you can call up Kirk and he can give you all the help that you need. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care. Check out TatianaRose.com or cryptomediahub.com if you want to find out more about me, Faltoro.com. Thanks again to our special guest. And we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, good luck with
there's a magic word. Magic word. We need a magic word. What's going to be the magic word?
I got one for you. Stella Marina.
Stella Marina? Is that one word? What does that have to do with anything? I'll go with it, but
it's Italian for starfish. And we just did a performance in which this was our magic word.
Okay, fine. So Stella Marina, 2 words, guys. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out. Bye.
Ciao.